Lawlessness and crime are flooding the streets of our once great cities like never before. And now a prominent sports talk host is accusing the media of ignoring crime within the Black community. Just this past weekend, a staggering 53 people were shot in Chicago. 11 of them died, while another victim was fatally stabbed. All of that death and violence in just 3 days. Those shocking numbers sparked outrage from ESPN host Stephen A. Smith, who says the left-wing media and the Black community need to start taking responsibility.
When we gonna look at ourselves when it comes to Black people being killed in the streets of America? I don't even want to get into what happened in Chicago, but I have no choice. It's not the first time this has happened. It's been happening year after year after year. Chicago, St. Louis, Baltimore, the list goes on and on. Where's the noise at? Where's the protests? Where's mainstream media talking about that? Where is it?
Charles, Stephen A. Smith is no stranger to provocative commentary. You know, he provokes a lot of conversations about things that he has said. But what he said right there should not be in any way provocative other than for sound 100% agreement.
You're right. You're right. Listen, I've been talking about this for a long time. When my show was at 6 o'clock and it was more political, there were sometimes I would, on those Tuesdays after the 3-day weekend, would actually read out some of the names of the victims in Chicago, read the names and the age.
Yes.
Because that's really what was so heartbreaking about it. And, you know, listen, I think the last time we were here, we had a similar topic. And when you look at a headline that says Chicago shootings, 50 shot, 10 fatal, and Memorial Day weekend gun violence. The guns didn't do it. The people did it, right? So another headlines, Mayor Brandon Johnson addresses the Memorial Day weekend violence in the city. First time to surge in deadly gun violence. I mean, let's just be honest about it so that we can fix it. You know, the same thing is happening with this massive shoplifting spree. It's organized theft. No, it's just a bunch of people going in there taking stuff because they know that the law won't hold them accountable, the media won't hold them accountable, and guess what? Their lives are ruined. And so it's heartbreaking to me. I've been calling it out for a long time. One of the pushbacks I get, and it's a BS pushback, is, hey, white people kill white people. You know, if you look at the stats, 90% of white people are killed by other white people. This is completely missing the point. We're slaughtering each other.
Yeah, but
we're slaughtering each other, and if we don't say something about it, no one else will.
yeah, there's not a White Lives Matter movement, though. No. I mean, Blacks have said that, you know, but for, and I don't use this as eloquently as our legal guru Emily does, but for the deaths that are caused by white people, I guess Black lives only matter when that happens, but not when Black on Black crime.
And it certainly doesn't matter when it's a Black police officer like that woman recently.
Exactly. Well, that's Black on Black crime.
I mean, that is so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You know, but it only matters if it's a white police officer who killed a Black, or a police officer in general who kills a Black person.
With Stephen A., and I don't know how long he's felt that, but we've been talking about this for years. So he's saying it in a new venue. I say that's the ESPN, they have a lot of sports fans, but I mean, you go on MS or CNN and say something like that, and you are really shaking nuts out of the trees at that point. Because the narrative tends to be, again, Black lives matter most or only when white people kill Black people. And if you're going to shake up that narrative, you need to say it in a space where it's not accepted so you can actually make some news with it. If we really, really cared about those stats, and we can show them on the big wall, and the numbers you called out, there they are. They're on that huge wall right now.
Right.
If we really cared about that in America in general, that hurts everybody, not just the Black community. Look, if you're any nationality or ethnicity and you're in Chicago and you call 911, but all the cops are going to the Black neighborhood because Blacks are killing each other, everybody's affected by that. I mean, that affects everybody's bottom line. Yeah,
we want a nation where everyone is thriving, right?
Yes.
Because the same tide lifts all ships, and we want a tide lifting all the people in this country. And you know, and I say, really, Democrats, the mainstream media, they should be held accountable.
They should. Yeah.
They are culpable with the by the way, and it's gone on for far too long. It's not brand new.
Yeah, they should. As I read this, and good job, Stephen A. Smith, for what you said, weekend came to mind, and it was 2020, after July 4th. It was a really bloody summer. And I remember going to the podium and talking about this issue. Jonathan Karl, who was the head of the White House Correspondents Association, labeled this the most troubling moment of my briefing because I said this. I said I fielded 12 questions about Confederate flags, but I'm so dismayed because I didn't get a single question on the deaths that we got in this country this weekend. I didn't receive one question about New York City shootings. I went on to list how those numbers were up. And then I went on to cite a father who lost his 8-year-old daughter in Atlanta, and he said this: they say Black Lives Matter. You killed a child. She didn't do nothing to nobody. Highlighted that at the podium for the world to see, and Jonathan Karl, the head of the White House Correspondents Association, said it was troubling because it wasn't connected to a policy announced by the White House. Well, number one, it was a bloody weekend. Reporters should have asked about it. Number two, 2 days later, we did announce a crime policy, Operation Legend. To my memory, you want to know how many White House questions there were about that? 0.
Wow.
Because I'm sorry, I'm left to conclude, I guess the reporters just don't care about the issue.
Because it's performative activism, Molly, to exactly the points of all of everyone here. I mean, let's take ESPN, that's Stephen A. Smith, a platform he was on. Those leagues have spent millions and millions of dollars to promote Black Lives Matter, including that being one of 10 approved slogans that athletes can wear on their cleats or in the end zone. But apparently, from what we understand, Black lives only matter in a certain context. They don't matter all the time.
Right.
Not to the left.
I mean, there's this truism in journalism: if it bleeds, it leads, about why you cover crime, because people are very interested in it. It worries them, it concerns them. But we don't have journalists anymore, so they don't do journalistic things. They're just political activists. And so if they can't put this in a political framework, and specifically a political framework that hurts their political opponents, they don't care. And they truly don't care about these poor communities that are dealing with this and what has led to it. Because there are political issues in play. The governance of these cities is really bad. And they don't want to challenge democratic governance of Chicago or New York or other cities, so they just ignore it.
And that's why it's particularly troubling that the former embattled mayor, Lori Lightfoot of Chicago, that left that city in her wake in destruction, is now enjoying a leadership professorial position at Harvard. To your point. It is absolutely unacceptable, but it continues from the left. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.